For the next week, I'm going to try survive training even harder than One Punch Man. Saitama's workout is of course 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10k run. I'm going to change this slightly to make it a little bit more balanced and fun for me. We're going to keep the strength training, but add 30 pull-ups, which is about 3 hard sets for me. Then we're going to change the 10k run down to a 5k, but also add 30 minutes of VR combat training. And finally, 20 minutes to an hour of mobility training every single day. The time right now is 12:53 on the 2nd of February, so let's get this first workout done. Now up first is mobility training, and this is something I've been taking pretty seriously for about 5 or 6 months now. At the moment, I'm using a combination of an app called ROM Coach, group classes in real life, and of course a bit of virtual reality. Then we have our strength training block of 100 of everything. I smashed through the squats in 1 set, but the push-ups took me 5 sets to get through. I haven't really done them for the past 5 months or so since I've been rehabbing my wrist, but we managed to get through everything in just over 30 minutes. And then I loaded up the absolute classic Thrill of the Fight 1. Since this is more about training, I didn't want to waste time looking for a match in Thrill of the Fight 2 or potentially run into some little spammers. And then finally we finished up with a 5k run. Out on the first run, just about at the 2k mark now. Opted for a recovery run as my first run, which is a little bit boring, but I did some intervals yesterday, and this challenge is all going to be about managing fatigue, so better safe than sorry. Yeah, freaking hot day in Singapore. So even though I'm crawling, my heart rate's at 150, but yeah. On day 2, I woke up a little bit stiff.
That's what she said.
But I decided to take it to the next level today. I started off with a slightly faster 5k, allowing myself to get into zone 3 and even dip into zone 4. But then I headed down to my gym for some group classes. Now, obviously didn't record these, didn't want to be that guy. The first class was a mobility class with heavy focus on pails and rails, which essentially like you stretch a position, then you have an active component where you really have to contract into that end range of motion, and then you can kind of stretch even further. The focus was inner hips, which was absolutely horrible for me, but something I definitely need. And then after that was a full strength training class, and then I just added on the additional reps to make sure I got to 100 of everything and the 30 pull-ups done. I also have a cold plunge, which I'm hoping is going to help with my recovery. And then finally, I got home and clocked a 30-minute workout in FunFitland. And man, this took the whole day. By the time I was finished, it was about 5 p.m. and I was absolutely exhausted. Day 3, we're starting to get into the groove of things. And this time we started out with mobility in the morning and then did the 5k run. Interval training, longer intervals, 1k on, 1k off. About to start my second working set. Now, let's go. I'm just watching this footage back now. I can't believe I thought that would look cool. For the VR combat section, I challenged my friend to a 10-round bout of Thrill of the Fight 2, and it was ridiculous. My stats here were absolutely insane, so was his. I know Thrill of the Fight 2 gets a bit of a bad rap, mostly due to it being competitive multiplayer only, and this obviously incentivizes cheaters and spammers, but if you can find a sparring partner of similar height and skill level to you, then it is an absolute blast. Our 10 rounds actually ended in a draw. Just traded right hooks there. Oh, there's the big one. My face is dazed. I can't see. Oh yeah, you're dazed now. And just before bed, I checked off the final strength training block, which was an absolute killer. Day 4, and at the halfway point, I woke up with mobility into a run. Garmin's been hurling insults at me all week. This morning told me I was overreaching, so I'm gonna listen to it. Today I'm just gonna take it a bit easier. It's a bit cooler, it's raining right now, well, sort of drizzling. And so it should be a bit easier to stay in zone 2 and just get this 5k done, no problem. Later that night, I managed to get the strength portion done, and at this point, I was feeling really sore, especially in the chest and the serratus anterior, which is the boxer's muscle. So for the VR combat section, I sort of adapted it. Now, this is a technique I learned from strength side with intuitive movement, almost taking on the form of Tai Chi or capoeira-like flows. Not that I actually know how to do any of that, but essentially, I load up Dragon Fist VR Kung Fu, and instead of treating it like an all-out boxing or combat game, I sort of just let my body feel a bit more relaxed, almost like drunken boxing. And it feels a bit more like a stretching session. 5, and I definitely needed that sort of chill day yesterday. Today, on the other hand, is probably going to be the hardest workout, hopefully the shortest though. We're going to do the entire thing outside and half of it in VR or mixed reality. So I started off with some mobility, and here we have Recharge, which recently got mixed reality support. I did this for 10 minutes and then moved into some shoulder drills out of VR. After that, for the VR combat section, this time I started outside of VR with a resistance band, and I practiced a few drills that Hamza taught me. Now the main point here I wanted to focus on is moving my hips and moving out of the way after every combo to reinforce good habits when I play Thrill of the Fight 2 and other VR boxing games. Then I loaded up Ultra Boxing. I feel like this game doesn't get enough love. Definitely a very decent single player boxing simulator. And then I moved over to running, and there's only really one way to do that, and that's with Sprint AR's beep test. I did about 1.5Ks in VR, but because the ground was quite wet, I almost slipped over, so I decided to do the rest out of VR with some sprint drills and some links to the park. And finally, for resistance training, here I loaded up XR workout. I selected my movesets of push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. This is a pretty fun way of gamifying resistance training. Absolutely love the ability to add your own playlist with YouTube. And I mean, if you haven't worked out in mixed reality to Ride of the Rohirrim, do you even work out? That's fucking epic. After 50 reps of each, I finished the rest outside of VR, and then I swung by the bars at the park to hit the last 30 chin-ups. At day 6, we only had 2 days to go, and not surprisingly, I was incredibly sunburnt. So I spent the majority of the day inside, lathering myself in aloe vera. In the morning, I ticked off the mobility and strength work. Then I did a 30-minute Les Mills body combat workout. And once the sun looked a little bit more manageable, I went for a very slow run in preparation. Right, into the second to last run. Nice and easy today. All ready for the big race tomorrow. So it is 7 AM and we are en route to doing our first ever park run. No real strategy today, just gonna run as fast as I can, probably die at the 3K mark. Yeah, we'll see if we can get a PB. Just walking back from the park run now, managed to get it done, get the old sub 25K, which I'm absolutely ecstatic about. Ever since last year, I did this stupid challenge where I ran a marathon in Skyrim, and this sub 25K has definitely been a little side quest I've been working away at. So, very, very happy to get it done. Then I did some much needed yoga to stretch things out, finished up the resistance training by midday, and loaded up golden gloves, which I hadn't tested in quite a while. I even set up my own little home gym workout around my room, which was pretty cool. So it's been 2 days since the challenge and my body has bounced back pretty well. Still have some slight pain around the ankles and heels from that final push run, but I think I'll be good in a few more days. Overall, I've got 3 main learnings that I think will impact my training moving forward. The first one was that I was surprised by how much more volume I could handle. This is way more than I normally train, so I definitely need to step it up a bit. Number 2 is splitting up my trainings throughout the day. Now, 2 out of the 7 days, I did the entire thing back to back, and that was pretty horrible. But when you break it into like 2 or 3 sessions throughout the day, it is so much more manageable. So that might be mobility in the morning, a weight class during lunch, and then some VR boxing after work. And the final one is competitions. Now, I've been trying to get that sub 20-minute 5K for about 8 months now. I've come close, I've had a few 21 and 22 minutes, but when I'm by myself around the 4K mark is when I fall apart. And in the park run, I had one guy faster than me, one guy slower than me, and that just helped so much with motivation. And I think this is one of the reasons I like VR so much. You know, there's leaderboards, real-time multiplayer, or you can just straight up fight your friends to engage in some competition. That's all for now, see you next time.